Hello, everyone. Welcome to Film Frauds. Myself, Matt, and my co-hosts, Mark
Hello.
and Tyler,
Hello.
about our completely unprofessional, 100% biased opinions on the movies of today, tomorrow, and yesteryear. And today, we're talking about a movie that most people deem to be a classic, a tour de force in cinema. Tyler, what do you think of 2004's Dodgeball?
Oh my god. We're already, Dodgeball is maybe the worst movie I've ever seen in my entire life, but
You're completely wrong.
okay, thank you.
Okay,
Matt.
that's your hint for what's happening at the end of the video.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, look at Matt, you're like an author or something.
I know.
That-
That's foreshadowing. So for people watching, that is what we call foreshadowing in the business.
Yeah,
So
that's what we call a television show.
yeah, tell don't show. Yeah, right.
Oh my god, Matt. Matt, what are we actually watching today?
We're
Talking
actually on Mark's director's recommendation, Sidney Lumet, and we're talking about 12 Angry Men. So, Mark, what is 12 Angry Men about? Because some of us haven't seen it before until 8 hours ago.
So 12 Angry Men is an adaptation of Reginald Rose's play called 12 Angry Men, and it's about 12 jurors who are deciding whether or not a young 18-year-old guy should be sent to the electric chair. And there's not much else I can say about the film without getting into too much spoilers, but it takes place in one room. It came out in 1957, and I chose it because it was Sidney Lumet's directorial debut, and it is one of the most magnificent films I've ever seen in my life. And so I think Tyler and I are pretty firm in our opinion of this film, and
Yep.
I think I've already made myself evident of what that opinion is. And the newbie to the 12 Angry Men fan club, maybe, who knows, I'll keep you in suspense, is young Matthew right here. So Matt, as the newbie, please enlighten us.
I mean, like, it lived up to the hype, I would say. I really enjoyed it.
Uh-huh.
It's really impressive how, like, the movie, again, is only in one room, but it like, it's fresh throughout. It never feels like you're trapped in, like, one location. It feels like you're trapped in one location, but never feels tiresome, is what I'm trying to say. I was really impressed by, like, the character work, especially given the fact that no one has names until the end. Like, everyone's just, like, juror number 1, 2, 3.
Yep.
I was really impressed by that stuff. I feel like Sidney Lumet, like, directed different characters at different angles consistently to give them each, like, some sort of unique feel to them, which I really liked. And it just goes to show, like, how through a good screenplay and, like, talented directing, you can make a smaller movie that takes place in one room and make it consistently entertaining for almost an hour, 40 minutes. So yeah, I'm glad that we had this podcast, so I finally got to watch this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So Tyler, so you've seen it 3 times now.
Yeah. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. So far out of the movies I've seen so far. And there's like a few things that are just kind of incredible at the movie. The first is that this is Lumet's directorial debut. I think he was 33, 34 when making this. And the fact that this can kind of work on so many different avenues. You can kind of take this as just a straightforward character movie. Or you could take this as kind of like either a glowing indictment or a glowing kind of like complimentary of the the court system, rather. And you can kind of see that both different ways. But ultimately, what makes this movie special is Lumet's incredibly natural feeling, like camera movement and directing, capped with some of the best, like, subtle character work like I've ever seen in a movie. There is so much, like, wonderfully hidden, like, exposition and characterization, like, that just feels naturally to the point where when things are concluding and, like, tensions are rising towards the end, you know everything about these people to a point where, like, it's just so well written. And I understand that this is kind of already based off a play, and from my understanding, I haven't read the play, but it's very fairly. Why haven't you? Because I'm a loser. Yeah, because I'm a loser. Yeah, I just want to get that out.
Did you buy the play?
I didn't buy the play. It's somewhere hidden in here. Yeah.
Yeah.
But ultimately, from what I understand about it, is that it's pretty fairly, like, adapted, which I also think is a testament to Reginald Rose, right?
Yeah.
To kind of like the screenplay of that. This movie, I think, is endlessly rewatchable. I think it honestly has aged better. I feel like it's somehow more relevant and more kind of like contemporary in 2020 than it might have been in 1957. I think it's probably the best entry point into black and white movies for anyone, to the point where I finished and I was like, I forgot that was in black and white. If anyone is against watching black and white movies because you think they're kind of limiting, just watch 12 Angry Men and you'll forget that it's not in color. I think this is a marvel of a movie in like every single capacity.
Yeah, I think on the topic of like an introduction to black and white cinema, I completely agree with that, because my preconception of what like black and white cinema was before I really got into movies was like, oh, they're boring, outdated. There's, whatever they explore, it's already been explored better in other films. But like, this is just such a gripping film that it can like totally change the way people see, black and white films. And it's so simple yet so complex in parts. And I think I'm a sucker for films that like really like they're about justice, and it's really about like having something to say. And I think just the message, which is clear and concise in this film, is just like you leave like after the movie finishes, you feel like you've eaten like a full meal. You're like, it was just so like amazingly incredible. I don't think that was the proper amazingly incredible. I don't think that's a thing. This is what happens when I get starstruck. I can't articulate myself.
You forgot to speak English.
Yeah.
Too much French in my brain. I'm translating it as I'm going. So yeah, and I think I remember reading I read some of Aristotle's Poetics, because Aaron Sorkin said that that's what all screenwriters should read. So I read some of that, and one quote comes to mind, which is, the ending should be unexpected and inevitable. I think the ending is expected, but the way that we get there is so unexpected, but again, inevitable. And like I think back to the scene with. Now we're sort of getting into spoilers, I guess.
It came out in 1957. This entire review.
We're tiptoeing a bit now, but I think one of like the first times I ever audibly gasped so loud in a film was when Henry Fonda stands up, pulls out the knife, and slams it on the table.
Yep.
I mean that scene just about blew my mind the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
So I don't know about you guys, but did you guys have the same reaction to that scene as I did?
Matt, like this is like your first time. Like I still like. There's a few lines in this movie where I like audibly kind of like feel. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, you get him. Like there's a scene where it's like, if you talk to him like one more time, I'm gonna lay you out. And you're just like, and that's like,
oh yeah.
This movie always like borders on like masculine conflict a little bit, and kind of like that like hierarchy of dominance and things like that. But it never directly starts to kind of get to it. And it's those little moments where it kind of like gleams like these are like 12 like men. And like masculinity is like a real thing in this kind of
12 men?
12 what?
These are 12 men?
I hate you so much, Matt. I'm trying to make a point. I'm trying to.
Are they angry?
Some of them are. But like, there's a few like just like this is such like an endlessly like memorable movie to me, and like every single like line, and there's just so much to it. I don't even know where to begin. But Matt, like this is your first time. Like, what kind of like were your reactions to everything?
I would say I was the most drawn into when they were acting out the stabbing part.
Yeah.
Like everyone rushes up to like gather around to see, and like you feel the tension between like obviously the main guy, Henry Fonda, who's the main guy who's pleading not guilty, and then the main guy, what's his name? The guy's last name is Cobb, I think, like the real like actor's last name.
Cobb.
Yeah, and he's obviously the main proponent of he is guilty, and like that scene was really tense for me, because by this point the movie's almost done, and you get the feeling like there's like this whole like idea of like shedding civility with like their clothes, so they're taking off different like their jackets or whatever, so you get that sort of idea there where like all civil nature is kind of being taken off as the movie goes along. And also I'd say like for this movie, I think it's pretty much a masterpiece, but it wasn't like it's like two different types of A's. There's like an A, like Lady Vengeance, where like I finished the movie and I feel like a profound emotional experience. I never was like completely emotionally invested in this movie. I was more invested in the plot. Like I really wanted to see like where this was going, and I understood a lot of the criminology parts of it, which I really appreciate because I studied criminology in college. But the scene I was most into was the was the by the end when like only Cobb isn't where like the Cobb guy's the only one who's saying guilty still, and he like does that whole confession where
Yeah.
he's talking about his son. Like I feel like that was like the emotional like draw I had from the movie that really elevated it for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can like I'm not like disagreeing because I can completely understand that. What works for me like so emotionally about this movie is this like I've said before like this dual criticism where it's like, hey, look at the power of like our court system, how we can like they clearly set up the lawyers in this movie were not out like the best. They were not looking out for this like young kid like and like Henry Fonda. I think he's juror number 8. Is basically like trying to point that out. And it's like, hey, look, we can have this like fair system where people like break it down and look, it's like kind of like this miracle of justice because they go in, they're like guilty, guilty, guilty. They're gonna kill the kid, and then it changes into it's an innocent. But it also works as like a criticism against that because it highlights like at a couple points we're a hung jury, another jury won't give this a chance, and you're right, like it shouldn't be up to like one like lone guy who's going, I don't know if he's innocent or guilty. I just want to talk about it to like convince like a bunch of people. And it works as like this like dual criticism and dual kind of like complementary of this legal system. And I found it to be so fascinating that by the time ends and like they all leave, it's like this profound experience. And some of these people will never change. And there's this line in the movie, it's like, he can't hear you, he never will. When talking about the guy who wants to have like the baseball cards and stuff, or wants to go to the baseball game. And these characters just kind of leave, and you're like, some of these people are not going to change. And if they're ever pulled back in again, there's a very good chance they're going to just immediately say he's guilty. And that's it. And I find that to be such a fascinating, like, commentary on just people and kind of like, that's why I think it feels so modern now because it's a, like this, like, discussion of facts and fiction and argument and perspective. I found it to be so compelling. And there's stuff even on like a third rewatch I picked up that I hadn't noticed before and stuff like that.
Which you pick up on the third rewatch?
It was like stuff at the beginning. Like I like the transition from like this pristine, like it's that tracking shot at the beginning where it's like this pristine environment and then it kind of gets smaller and smaller until you're kind of like in this dingy and hot setting. And I like the kind of contrast between like the outward look and appeal of the court system, but and then like contrasting that with like the dirty realism of what it actually is. And then I didn't notice how like apathetic and bored the judge was. He's like, yeah, he's you know what to do. Like everyone just looks like they've given up on this kid. And I think that's like an ultimate lovely like transition to that the most kick-ass triumphant score at the end where he walks out in the rain and just kind of and it's just like this build up and you just feel like you're just like you've completed something like Mark said.
Yeah, I think what's so brilliant about this film, and there's just so many things, but like the flip-flopping of the audience, like you know, me, you, anybody. It's like there's Henry Fonda, and then like when I'm thinking about the guilty verdict, it's the broker with like the logical, concise argument for guilty. And I think in my first watch, it was just I was like, oh, Henry Fonda's making sense, and then I'm like, oh, well, this is a fair point by the broker, and you're flipping back and forth, and this is over the course of the movie, and then on top of that, you sort of feel like you're in the room because they're all sweating and sneezing, and it's like you feel the heat of it, and you're getting irritable yourself because it's like, all right, what's going on here? Let's figure this out. And also, this is sort of a testament to Sidney Lumet's directing skills. I'm sure, Tyler, you read up on this because I think Roger Ebert talked about it in his review, and I think it's also in the Criterion edition. And it's that the first third of the movie, Sidney Lumet shoots it from above to give like no.
It's above eye level.
Above.
Yeah,
it's
above eye level. Yeah.
Above was the first third. It was shot from above, and then the middle was shot at eye level, and then the last third of the movie was shot from below eye level because it's like the classic cinema technique.
You're bringing things in.
Shot from below gives power. Shot from above dominates the character, and then and to do that, it also like the walls are starting to close in and the ceiling's closing in, and there's a certain level of claustrophobia that increases throughout the film, and then also you're irritable because it's hot out, and also because of these arguments, and it's just it toys with your emotions brilliantly. So and also I just the characterization of each character. I guess that's a weird statement, characterization of each character, but it's mind blowing how each juror has just this distinct motive, or they represent a certain idea, and it's incredible the contrast between all of them and just seeing them come to clash. So I'm sure, like Matt, you probably love that. Just how each and every character is just so distinct.
Yeah, I think I said that earlier, like how like each character is basically a number, but they're able to give each, for the most part, like each character like sufficient background. I would say, like, if I had one little critique, I would like a little bit more from some of. I mean, obviously, like Henry Fonda's character is very well developed. The old man's developed. The guy who had a very similar background to the guilty to the defendant. And then I mean, obviously this happens like when there's 12 characters. I feel like say like for example like the guy who's leading the jury. Maybe a little more from him, but I mean I would say like based on how they interact with each other, how like their dialogue, you basically have a good understanding of who each character is about them going, well, here's my backstory, blah 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 blah. So yeah, I'd say like that was pretty, and especially because it's only an hour and a half, hour 38 long. It's all handled extremely well and extremely naturally for like a realistic event like this.
Yeah. I think that's a completely fair kind of thing. But what I also think like that, I don't know if you know, but the profession of the foreman, juror number 1, he's like a high school football coach. And I didn't know that until I was looking up like the characters of all this kind of stuff. But what I think works I can understand again some of the criticism of that, like the banker who sits next to Lee J. Cobb. He's
broker.
The broker, sorry. The guy on the left, kind of like he's like that, like there's like that masculine conflict where he's like, all right, sport or something like that. Like that smaller guy. He's like, do you want a cough drop? Like that guy. Like he doesn't have a lot of character. That or like the advertising executive who like wears the glasses and he comes up and he's just like, I was doing once, and that like that tactic they do. We're like, so what about this? And like, yeah, they don't have a ton of character, but I think that's ultimately kind of like a point in a sense, is they kind of like are mirroring a lot of like the baseball guy. Juror number 7, where like even like they aren't necessarily like these like big thinkers, and I think what captures that is juror number 6, who's one of the first people to kind of like vote not guilty, who sits next to the baseball guy. He even said, he's like, I don't really do a lot of deep thinking. My boss does that. I just kind of like I just do my work. We're not like I think having a couple people be like these like kind of like go with the flow kind of people is more representative of what actually like is kind of what like America is, not only during this time but kind of now, where there's only going to be a few outspoken leaders, and that's Henry Fonda. And
there's go with the flow people, and there's I want to get this over with people. Like the baseball guy.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think like that's kind of their character. And yeah, you're right. They're not well developed. But I think that's like Lumet and Reginald Rose kind of like making a point that, hey, it's technically a jury of your peers, but again, if Henry Fonda wasn't in that room and you substitute it for another go with the flow guy, they call him guilty within 10 seconds. And that's it. And that's an indictment of the court system. And I find that so fascinating. And I also find that like when he's just like that guy, he's like, yeah, I let my boss do all the thinking. He's like the first one to resort to like physical violence. He's like, if you keep talking to him, I'm going to lay you out. Like, cause he can't like engage in that argument. He has to resort to like that masculine kind of violence. And you're just like, you're like, whoa, this is the best. I don't know. I understand your criticism.
It's not really criticism. I was like saying that there's like a couple characters that I kind of lost sort of what they were doing. But I guess I was commenting the movie too, saying that considering the length and the fact they're all one room, they had to make it realistic. I feel like every character had sufficient backstory. But yeah, I had a point, but I forgot what the point was. I like the character work. Is what is basically the point.
Are you guys familiar with like Sidney Lumet movies at all? Like I know Mark.
I've never seen the Sidney Lumet movie until last night.
You haven't, Mark? I know you've seen like Network and stuff like that.
So I've seen Network and 12 Angry Men, and they're like they're both like one of my favorite movies ever. I've also read his book. I have it right here. It's Making Movies.
Yep.
I read this early this spring. I'm fascinated by Lumet because, just the fact that of the movies I've seen, the two that I've seen, they were so amazing. And I was like, why isn't this guy like a household name? Like, you don't have to watch movies to know who Stanley Kubrick is or Scorsese is. But, nobody really knows who Lumet is outside of, like, cinephiles or whatever.
I didn't know who he
So
was
I was
until
just
we started Film Frauds, honestly.
yeah, until we started Film
Yeah,
Frauds.
and
Like,
I've been watching movies for like I know a lot of directors.
Yeah.
So it was just funny. I was like, oh, I thought he was a French person when I first heard his name.
yeah, I'm looking at Roger Ebert's review, and this is a quote from him. He says, "If Lumet is not among the most famous of American directors, that is only because he ranges so widely he cannot be categorized. Few filmmakers have been so consistently respectful of the audience's intelligence." So that's Roger Ebert's opinion.
That's ultimately kind of a point I wanted to get at is if you look at like his filmography, like I go on Letterboxd sometimes and like I've seen 12 Angry Men, I've seen Network, I've seen Serpico, and I've seen The Verdict. And if you look at his there are a bunch of movies that you just haven't heard of, but they're so well reviewed that like I was looking at reviews for 12 Angry Men, it's like Sidney Lumet's probably the least talked about, most successful director ever. And he's just made so many like widely accessible movies that it's almost baffling that just more people don't know about him. Like you scroll down, like even on his Letterboxd, and like his 13th most popular movie is Prince of the City, and it's like incredibly well reviewed. And I'm so fascinated by this guy, and because he's very clearly like a character actor, a character director. His movies are character centered. And usually you can get that, and the directing almost falls to the wayside a little bit. You think, man, that was a really good like performance movie, and I hate to do this, but this is the first thing that came to my mind. But you think of something like The Joker. Stupid comparison, but you have to think about it. The directing that movie is
Wait,
like,
what do you mean? Joker is best movie of 2019.
oh yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I can't forget. It should have won over Parasite.
Yeah.
Who even saw Parasite?
Who saw Parasite?
Who saw Parasite? But no, it's like because again, Joker's very much a character movie, but the directing is kind of like not great in that movie. It's really whatever. But in this one, like Mark said, Sidney Lumet had to like work around. Like he has said that this is like one of the technically hardest things he's ever had to work on because he had to find a way to make this small room dynamic and kind of like lively, and by framing each kind of like that stuff and mixing it up and making it like weird, not weird, but like using different camera angles and camera movements, it adds this liveliness to the entire environment, despite, like Matt said, it being entirely in one room. I kind of was like, I'm just enamored by like his directing style and how subtle it is.
Yeah, I completely agree. I've said several times on the podcast that Network is one of my favorite films ever, and I've seen it 3 times now, just like I've seen 12 Angry Men, and I've rewatched a bunch of scenes on YouTube because I love them so much. And once you watch a scene over and over again, you sort of become sensitive to different elements. And there's certain scenes in Network where, like, on my first or second viewing, I wasn't aware of the camera, but when I paid attention to the camera when I rewatched it, I was like, just the movement or the framing or the lens choice, it was just brilliant. I was like, this is how the film or like the scene should be shot, or like this is an unexpected way to shoot the scene, but it's like it's incredible. I mean, I'm thinking back to like all of like those incredible monologues, Tyler, in Network.
Yep.
Like the Mad as Hell one, where the camera's tracking Howard Beale as he's coming out of like the newscasting booth, and the scene with Mr. Jensen at the end of the table, where he's like, "The world is a business." Like, it's just, I'm absolutely like you, Tyler. I'm just absolutely fascinated with Lumet.
Yeah.
So I'm going to quote from Roger Ebert's review again of 12 Angry Men, but it's less of a review what he's talking about now. He's talking about the range of Lumet. So he says, for Sidney Lumet, born in 1924, 12 Angry Men was the beginning of a film career that has often sought controversial issues. Consider these titles from among his 43 films: The Pawnbroker, which is about the Holocaust; Failsafe, which is about accidental nuclear war; Serpico, which is police corruption; Dog Day Afternoon, which is homosexuality; Network, the decay of TV news; The Verdict, alcoholism and malpractice; Daniel, which is a son punished for the sins of his parents; Running on Empty, which is about radical fugitives; and Critical Care, which is about healthcare. And then he did a musical called The Wiz.
Yep.
Like, he's all over the place.
And like again, I'm so fascinated because I don't know why people don't know him more. like 12 Angry Men is one of the most highly regarded movies of all time. I mean, this is
Yeah.
kind of taught. This is taught in law school. Like this film is shown in law school of like how a proceeding is done, and the fact that we can like Matt, like you didn't know like until we started this in May, and we
Yeah.
didn't know really like who Lumet was is a not only a wonderful kind of like show of like how our tracking of how our like movie fandom, I guess, or how our movie watching kind of like has diversified, but the fact that we can sit here and go, this is a masterpiece of a movie, and we haven't seen it until like now. I think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. I think it's also very fascinating. Matt,
Yeah.
what else did you like about the movie? What else stood out to you?
Um, I mean, I really liked how it handled the process of finding someone guilty.
Yeah.
So like a very common, basically in criminal justice right now, like the most common theory and most well accepted theory is that a person's like propensity towards causing crime is mostly judged by their environment and their surroundings, and I feel like this tackled it very well. But the leading theory before that was that crime was like some sort of genetic thing, where it's like part of like your family, and you can
Yeah.
see that in like that, not the old man, but like the other old guy who's always blowing his nose. He's like, oh, he's just one of those people.
The
Yep.
racist
Like
guy.
he's like basically like doomed to commit crime. So
Yep.
like you see that there, and then you have Henry Fonda's character who is like he's like, well, I mean, he lives in a rough neighborhood. I just want to give him more of a chance than anyone else is getting it. And like that very much reflects like what current criminologists think, which I thought was really cool. I think obviously Sidney Lumet did his research and was probably ahead of his time. I think with regard of like his writing of Henry Fonda's character.
Yeah. Yeah. I think. Sorry, Mark.
Oh yeah, I just want to like just say because it came to my mind. This is like why I think one of the goals of our podcast was to like help show people like how older films can be good, or like acquiring a larger range of not exactly taste because that sounds pretentious, but just seeing more movies. And it's like
Get
12
away
Angry Men.
from the roller coaster rides.
Yeah, get off the roller coaster, you simps from Marvel.
Read a book.
It's this is like this is something, a movie where you can learn something like how to empathize with people.
Yeah.
Like that's what the whole film's about, just sort of like empathy. And it's I'm sort of getting tongue-tied here, but you get the point. It's just there's so much to learn from films. They don't have to like be for only entertainment.
Yeah.
Right.
I also think there's like a bunch of different things. Like there's if you ever want to learn how to like break tension, there's like a few like natural breaks in this where they kind of like comment about the weather, or there's that one scene where they had just got done like talking about the point I think of the old man, how he couldn't get to the door fast enough, and then the power goes out and starts raining, and then that like baseball guy's like throwing stuff and he gets like he hits the old guy in the head. He's like, well, that's a damn stupid thing to do. Or they
Made me
just like
laugh so hard.
that is just like, oh my god, it's great. But there's like a few times where like even the watchmaker, who is like one of the first people to kind of like, hey, what's going on here, like after all this tension, he even sits down and will like laugh at a joke. And it's this wonderful thing like, hey, look, sustained tension is not always good. It's nice to have a few moments like the rain comes and they still like they help themselves like put down the window. And it's not like this, like they don't hate each other. None of these characters have animosity towards one another. They're just in this situation trying to convince the other person. And I think that's such a fascinating thing that they leave and that's it. They're never going to see each other again. Like, they're like, even like, hey, what's your name? Hey, oh, nice. Okay, well, see ya. It's like, all right, cool. Like, these people do not dislike each other. There's no, like, besides the, personal kind of stuff like that, there's no animosity towards each other, which I think creates kind of like a natural thing. And there's also wonderful stuff about like at the beginning, it's like it's a jury of your peers. Well, they never directly state the race of the defendant. But despite that, you can always assume he's not a Caucasian kind of like young male. And jury of your peers, despite that, they're being 12 angry, like despite them being like a couple are German, I think they're still all
Czech
white.
Republic.
Czech Republic. Thank you.
I look up where it was from.
I have no idea, but there's still like it's not technically a jury of the peers, and I find that to be very, very like, hey, look, it's still 1957 when this is coming out, and it's still like pre civil rights movement and kind of stuff like that. And I think this is like a very fascinating thing to explore. I
You
don't
get
know,
one
like
star
Yeah.
as a kid, like when he's kind of like he has like a really weird face. He's like,
yeah,
you
He's scared.
really
He's
know
scared shitless.
what
Yeah.
he's about. Did you guys were you guys flip flopping back and forth as to whether or not he was innocent or guilty?
Towards the begin, when I first watched it at the beginning, or like what I said before, just like the flip flopping, like mostly regarding the broker's arguments for guilty, because like you know he brings up like the fair points, like oh the woman saw him, that's irrefutable, and then you're like okay, that actually that makes sense. I mean, he has a point there, but then they sort of go into why there's a reasonable doubt why that woman would not be able to make a good judgment as to who was stabbing who. But yeah, I was flip flopping quite a bit on my first viewing. It lessened as the film went on. I was like, okay, Henry Fonda's just he's too good.
Yeah, I would say like if I had one criticism of the movie is that I kind of was understanding like the formula where it's like the people who think he's guilty bring up something and then the non-guilty people disprove it. So by the time they brought up like the most damning evidence of the woman's like seeing him, I was aware, it's like, oh, they're gonna find some way to prove that there's reasonable doubt. So if I mean, it wasn't, obviously it's not anything particularly worth, like it works for the context of the movie where it's saying like, oh, if you look a little deeper into what the base evidence is, like you see like the doubt there. But I would say like I never really got that like oh crap moment at all, like when the guilty people were like, oh, what about this, because I kind of knew at some point they were going to disprove it, because that's kind of where the flow of the movie was going.
Well, it's from the get-go that the ending is inevitable. What's unexpected is how it's achieved. Like it's like, okay, he's going to convince them all probably, but how? Like it's an open and shut case. That's your thought at the beginning of the movie, right?
Yeah.
And you're sort of siding with the guilty people. I mean, they put out all the evidence right at the beginning. They say the old man saw him. He heard, "I'm going to kill you." The woman saw him. He went to the movies, but then he forgot. It's like, how could you possibly spin this where there could be reasonable doubt? There's so many alibis, or like not alibis, but instances where it shows that the kid has, killed his father. And, that Henry Fonda is going to convince them. I mean, because at the time he was the top billed actor. He funded the film because he could.
He was the reason it got made, basically.
Basically, the reason he got made.
Yeah.
But it's going to happen. But it's just about how you get there. That's what it's about.
So I feel like there's a few things. Henry Fonda's character is so interesting here because there's a few times where the movie makes it very clear that he's not this genius jack of all trades, has all the answers, because he's figuring out things and piecing it together at the same time as the movie is. Because that one scene, and what really tipped me off to that was when he talks about where he heard him yell, "I'm going to kill you." And you can see him like sitting there thinking about the train passing. And he's like, okay, what if we piece like two pieces of like evidence together?
Testimony.
And you can see him like working through stuff. And to the point where one of the most damning pieces of evidence at the end is not even delivered by him. It's delivered by the old man sitting next to him with the eyeglasses. And it really makes this like, hey, this kind of like group effort instead of like it's the Henry Fonda saves this kid's life show. It's, hey, Henry Fonda sparks a conversation in the right direction. And he's the one who ultimately kind of like acts as the vehicle to push. And I think that's a very compelling decision to make, because you're right. Henry Fonda is the reason this movie got made. He's kind of like the driving force. He was the one who ultimately was the reason that Lumet was even chosen to make this movie. Because he handpicked Lumet to direct it. And I find that to be a very like interesting kind of choice to make, that Henry Fonda is not the one who basically gives the most important piece of information in the movie. But I mean, in terms of like breaking a formula, I mean, I get it. I think the directing like kind of like breaks it and stuff like that. So
I did like how it handles like the weight of the death penalty really well. It's like it's not really the guilty party versus the not guilty. It's the guilty party versus the reasonable doubt party.
Yeah.
Like they're like, we can't, like I like the morality of if we're like, as long as there's doubt, we can't sentence this guy to be executed.
Yeah.
Because like it really handles like, because I feel like the death penalty is very like is taken very seriously in some states. It's like if they're a bad guy, like obviously they're gonna get put to death. They just like that's bad enough. It's like I like how like it's not really the good guys versus the bad guys. It's like the kind of like it's like the determined people versus the I'm not so sure people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah.
One of my favorite moments is when, and it's the whole purpose of the movie. It's like when Henry Fonda says to juror number 6, I believe, the guy was like, "I'll lay you out."
Yeah.
He says, Henry Fonda says to him, he says, "Suppose you were in the boy's shoes," and he's like, "I don't do a lot of supposing. I leave that to my boss." And it's just such a good, just him convincing everybody, like, "Hey, let's think about this and let's put ourselves in his shoes and let's think about it." And I love that. I love the message, the clear conciseness of the message and how it plays out.
I think Matt brings up a really good point here is they never say the kid's innocent. And continuing off of that scene you just said, the guy who juror number 6 who's ultimately like, suppose you talk us all out of it and the kid actually did it. And he kind of like, he's like, and then he walks away and you're just like, that's a really good point, because a lot of the stuff they do debate is circumstantial evidence. And there is like, and one of the more damning things is like, so the person dropped the knife out of so basically what I really love about this movie is how it hides exposition. The first real instance you get of what actually is happening is when they're like, all right, let's break down what happened, because that's when they start to talk about it. And you're getting information about the case while also learning things about the character. And I think that's very fascinating, because the guy with the glasses, he's very systematic and he's telling people like, fact, this happened, fact, then this happened at this time. And now you learn he's very like well put together, but now you're also learning about the case. And it's ultimately like, hey, the kid saying the knife dropped out of his hole in the pocket. And you're like, that sounds really weird. And someone happened to stab with the exact same knife. And you're right. There is always this question of like, he could have done it, but now there's a doubt. But he could have, and they might have let a guilty person go free. And I think that's a very fascinating thing to explore, where the movie ended and it's just triumphant, but it's in the back of your mind. You're like, he could have, though.
Yeah, the morality of, is it worse to condemn an innocent person or to let a guilty person go and potentially commit more crimes? I like that. That conflict.
I think it's wonderfully well developed. I think everything about this movie is well developed. I think it's great. Do you want to get into Mark? Do you have any final points, or do you want to get into Hallmark scenes?
I don't think there's much else we can talk about. I think it's an open and shut case.
Boo. Can we talk about
because it's like a circle.
It's open shut down. We need to bring this up. I'm saying not guilty.
Is there a reasonable doubt that this conversation is over?
Can we wait? We forgot to talk about one character really in depth, and not in depth, but the racist juror. What do you guys think about his scene where they like take away his power and they all kind of like step away, and he's kind of like, he's like, but God, and then he ultimately sits down. And he's like, that's it. He shuts up for the rest of the day, like the rest of the thing. What do you guys think about that?
I think that's one of the best scenes of all time.
Oh damn!
I don't think I can put it any other way, because you're not going to convince someone like that with words. I mean, odds are you aren't.
Yeah.
And the actions of all these men, even the people who still think the boy is guilty, won't stand for it.
Yeah.
They all just like look away. It's like, I'm not going to be present at this table while you say all this crap.
Yeah.
As opposed, the broker sits there, and I think so does the baseball guy, but the baseball guy's sort of looking off, and then the broker's like, now sit down and don't open your mouth again.
Yeah, it's great. It's I loved how even Lee J. Cobb, who has his personal vendetta because of his relationship to his kid, doesn't stand for like acts of like discrimination and racism, and like how like personal biases. There's a certain point where clearly like they draw that line where they are like, all right, we got to shut this guy up. We're trying to actually like talk about this case, and he's just coming over here and spouting like racist stuff. And
then for the rest of the movie, he's away from the table.
Yeah,
like he sits by himself. But going back to you said this is based on a play.
Yeah,
that's probably a scene most of all that felt like theatrical.
Yeah,
where with all the movement and everything. And I think despite like how realistic the movie is up to that point, like I think that scene worked as adding a little more theatricality to it, a little more spectacle to it, to like really emphasize like the taking away this guy's power. So no, I did really. That's probably my second favorite scene, I would say, in the movie.
Yeah, I think it's great. That was just kind of like that's like one of the that's like the most iconic scene in the movie probably is like because at that point we're transitioning to the third act of the movie and the camera's starting to go lower, but that's when it like steps back and you get the wide shot of the room and it kind of like you feel like you're taking a breath of fresh air. You're like, oh god, I'm not like close in on the table, and I found that to be really really kind of fascinating. So yeah.
Mhm.
Hallmark scenes. Hallmark scenes are basically our favorite scenes in the movie. This might be tough considering it's basically one long scene, but I guess we probably have to go favorite moments in the room. What'd you guys have, Mark?
Uh, I think the penultimate one was the knife scene for me.
Yep.
I'll never forget how I felt when I first saw that. I literally went, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
The first time I saw it. I love that scene. It gets me every single time. And the scene we just talked about, the racist tirade and the jurors all standing up and not listening to it. It's not coming to me. The whole thing is just like a one long Hallmark scene.
Yep.
But like those two are the standouts. Well, I think also the when they recreate the inside of the apartment
Yep.
and Henry Fonda walks the steps. Oh, and the old man talking about the man who saw the boy go down the stairs.
Yeah.
This is the
I
man
think
who's
this
never had
juror-
his name in the paper.
Yeah,
Yep.
juror number 10 or
Yeah.
juror number 9. Yeah, he was like, I know this man better than anyone at this table.
Yeah.
That was a brilliant scene.
It's
And
great.
just on topic of juror number 9, just how he's framed in every shot, where it's like he just cuts in with like the the line.
Yep.
And yeah, so
Thanks, Mark,
the
for
whole thing
nominating the
is
entire
amazing.
movie. Thank you for nominating the entire movie. Matt, what do you have?
I'd say like the reenacting the stabbing scene is probably my favorite scene of
Yep.
the whole
Oh,
movie.
yeah, that was
that
great.
stands out because like it has the most movement, like all of it, with everyone like crowding around, and
Yeah.
it feels the most suspenseful because you have like the main guys who thinks there's reasonable doubt versus the main guy who thinks this guy needs the death penalty, and you're kind of not sure if he's actually going to stab him or not because this movie, when they introduced the knives, like I was kind of thinking like this movie would end more violently than it did.
Oh,
Like
damn.
that's probably a really good aspect of the movie is that at one point like I stopped caring about the case and I was kind of wondering if like all civility would go out the window and they
Yep.
just like start actually attacking each other because like that Chekhov's gun kind of thing. It's like, oh, you introduce the knives, like what's actually going to happen with it?
Yep.
So and then that's also the scene where the one who has like the same background as the defendant,
Juror number 5, 1, 2,
5 or something.
He's like, wait, it's 1, 2, 3,
5.
4. Yeah, 5. Thank you.
Yeah, he's very like solemn
Yeah.
up until that point, and then that's like when he steps in to like say talk about his background and everything. So I'd say that's probably my favorite scene.
Yeah. I think there's like a few times where like Lee J. Cobb and was like, it's an old man, he's half confused. How can you trust him about anything? And then he like and you kind of get like that. You're like, oh, and you're like, and he turns around and he has that same reaction. He's like, fuck. He's like,
I just want to include that my other Hallmark scene is like the emotional breakdown of Cobb.
Yeah,
like,
we
that
never
was the
talked
scene
about
that
that.
really got me more emotionally than anything else. Like when he tears up the tears up the picture of his son.
Yeah.
That scene really hit me. That was a really, really great scene.
Yeah.
And those are probably my 2 Hallmark moments.
In that scene, he goes, here's your evidence, and it shows the photo, but after he tears it up, he's like, he almost looks like he's like regrets it immediately.
Yeah.
And you're just like, he's like, not guilty, and you're like, yeah, he got him. But no, that's a really great scene. No, there's like a few times when it's like the one like actual like confrontation between Henry Fonda and Lee J. Cobb, where he's like, you want to pull the switch, like you want to be his executioner. He's like, I'm gonna kill you, and he's like, but you don't mean it. And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
You're like, fuck, you're like, you got him. I don't know. I like that because that's like when tensions start to really boil, and that's when Henry Fonda becomes this less like passive character and is kind of more like directly attacking the beliefs of someone, and that how that beliefs are like directly challenging it. But I mean, like the knife sequence, just that framing of he stands up but you don't see him when he stands up. You see like his still like mid-drift area, and he slams the knife down. The exact same thing, and everyone stands up and they're like, "Where'd you get that?" And it's like, it's a felony to buy a switchblade. He's like, "Yeah, I broke the law." And you're just like, ooh. You're like, oh, what's going on here? And I don't know.
Yeah.
The ending, the triumphant music as it walks about, and they all go their different way, and no one has really changed for like at all, except for maybe like Lee J. Cobb. That's it.
I think the ending is probably one of my favorites ever. Just like not exactly. I don't think insignificance is the right word, but just like, now it's over and they're never going to talk to each other and they're going to go out into society after just saving a man's life, basically.
Yeah.
It's just so simple yet powerful. I think that's why cinema is amazing, just because simplicity and powerfulness.
I agree. And do we have any Mark Sleepy Time moments?
No.
Yeah, Black Cat moments. God, no. Shouldn't even be in the same fucking conversation as Black Cat, and I love Black Cat. Yeah. The movie shits.
This movie has framed shots where you can see what's going on.
Yeah,
that already makes it better than Black Cat.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're gonna get to grades. We're grade stuff on an A, B, C, D, F scale, no plus or minuses. Let's do this real quick. Is this movie going in the Hall of Fame, or are we all giving it A's?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
100%. Yeah.
100%.
This is the best movie we've done on Film Fraud so far. I am 100% convinced of that. Until we do Black Cat.
I don't think it's the best film with Film Frauds, but yeah, I would give it an A.
Yeah.
Prometheus was the best one. So
yeah, Prometheus. Is the best.
What is your guys' best movie you think we've done so far?
This is up there.
I think this is it for me.
This is definitely up there.
Boogie Nights.
Boogie Nights is great.
Old Boy.
Lady Vengeance is one. Yeah, Old Boy. Lady Vengeance was probably the most changed I was from rewatching a movie.
The Exorcist I thought was really
The
great.
Master.
Yeah, No Stretch the Vampire.
No.
Yes.
Here.
Yes. Yeah. I want to rewatch that.
Yeah, maybe next Halloween we can do that. Well, I'll probably rewatch it by next Halloween. But that was a good movie.
Damn.
I mean, I love Calvary.
Calvary's great.
I would say I do love Prometheus. I legitimately.
Yeah, I know.
I think Prometheus is probably the most interesting to talk about out of all the movies we've done.
I think so too.
Especially because you can relate it to current the current YouTube video essay world. I feel like that's Prometheus has a lot of current layers to it as well.
I agree.
Yeah.
I just want to say one quick thing about the Criterion release of this, because it is a Criterion release. The movie looks amazing on this, but in terms of an actual release, there isn't much extra content. It's just kind of the fact of there are interviews with Lumet, and you kind of get a retrospective about his history. There's an interview with Reginald Rose, but just the fact that this movie looks so amazing on this this kind of Blu-ray transfer, I think is really cool. And I'm so glad I bought this. Yeah.
Yeah. I bought this blind. I was like, all right, people love this movie. I'm just gonna get it, and I will never regret it.
Neither will I.
You have buyer's anti-remorse?
Anti-remorse. I wish I bought 2 copies.
I just noticed that Henry Fonda's the only one in yellow on this. That's pretty interesting. That's pretty cool. I don't know. I'm this is it's just one of the greatest movies ever made. And I can't wait to explore. This feels like a wonderful entry point, like we've said, into just cinema as a whole and the potential of it. But yeah.
Better than Black Hat.
Better than Black Hat. I will agree with that, actually. You know
I said other than Black Hat.
Oh, other than Black Hat. All right, guys. Well, now we're getting to our what we've been watching section. We talk about what we've been watching, playing, reading for the last week. I think I have the most stuff like usual because I don't do anything because I'm a loser. Mark, what have you watched this week? I know you have one movie you really want to talk about.
Yes. And it's the only movie I watched this week. I sort of slacked off. I've been doing a lot of reading. I'm 600 pages into War and Peace.
Jesus.
Matt, you would love this book.
Cool.
These characters feel real. I literally feel like I can reach out and poke them.
See, that's what you do. You try to poke them, and they go, ow.
Yeah, I'm reading. I'm that was stupid. That was a stupid joke. So.
Did you move your piano behind you?
You just noticed that?
Yeah. I just noticed that.
Hey, play a song.
Play a song.
Oh, whoa.
Play the dentist scene from Old Boy. Play that song. Oh man, great.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Cool.
So seductive.
So I watched the 1996 film. I believe it's called La Haine or La Haine. I don't know the exact pronunciation, but it's French. And it's French for the word hate.
That's what it's called.
Let's see. So for people who have seen, if anyone's watching this and you've seen this film, let me know what you think in the comments because I was just about blown out of the water, and I don't think I could. I didn't think I had the capacity to love a film this much. And it's not an easy film to watch.
It's on Criterion.
It's on the Criterion channel. I watched it because I remember seeing a Criterion Closet video with Barry Jenkins, and he was in the closet and he took out Lahane, and he said, like, I remember like being in film school and like getting with my buddies and just like watching this and crying our eyes out or something like that, something along those lines. And I like remembered that. I put that in the back of my head, and the other night I was like, all right, I'm gonna watch a movie, but I didn't know what to watch, and so I was on the Criterion channel and I saw it, and I was like, I'm just gonna check it out. It's only an hour and 37 minutes, not too long, not a big commitment. It is the most powerful film I've ever seen in my life, and it is very topical. It is very topical.
Did you cry?
I didn't cry. I was close to it.
Wimp.
Did you hug your bookshelf?
No, I finished the film and I literally just like the film ended and I just lay down on my bed and I just stared at the ceiling, and I was just completely like blown out of the water. I don't even know how else to put it. I don't even want to tell you what the film is about. I want you guys to go in eventually and see this. And I thought for a while that like we do this on the channel, but I don't want to review this movie. I do not want to review this movie.
Why not?
I don't know. I'm in the belief that if I love a movie so much, I don't want to pick it apart.
I don't think we're like picking a movie apart in any capacity. I think think about what we just did in 12 Angry Men. I mean, we didn't pick it apart. We just talked about what we loved.
This is a film that touches on a lot of touchy subjects.
Ooh.
So I don't think
let's avoid it.
People are ready to hear what three white boys have to say about it.
It can't be any worse than that.
God damn it.
Yeah, this is a film that just completely takes you over, and it is some of the most unique filmmaking I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen a film shot this way. I've never seen a narrative structure in this form. I mean, it is like I've seen almost 180 films this year, and this is the most unique one, probably, like far and away. I've never seen a film shot this way. It is. I'm talking around the subject, I know, but I just want it to be made known that this is my favorite film ever, and I highly recommend that you guys watch it. And it's only an hour and 37 minutes.
Oh, man.
So you guys will.
I'll watch it tonight. Criterion password.
Yeah, you know how you know my Criterion stuff. Oh my God, I'm impressed.
Just be ready when you watch this film. Just like sit down and be ready.
I'll tissue box.
Yeah, get a tissue box.
I'll hold Murphy.
Lahane.
Yeah.
Lahane.
No, not Hane. I think it's
Lahane.
Lahan. Anyway, it's on
Did
the
you try to like listen
channel.
to it with French subtitles and then give up immediately?
No, I use Spanish What is Spanish subtitles? What are you talking about?
Oh my God!
Come on, Matt.
I'm so sorry. And in reverse. Oh my God.
In reverse.
Ugh.
And I was at.
I don't know
why.
Mark, I'm sorry. I don't know what I was thinking.
I was sitting at a 71 degree
the
angle.
laptop, and I didn't go.
Yeah. So I watched that and then just been reading a lot of War and Peace. It's a lot. I'm 600 pages in. I'm not even halfway through.
Good God, that's a lot.
I'm like, I really want to read that book now.
I'm
gonna do the Hemingway stuff first, but
it's on the Hemingway list. Oh, you mean reading Hemingway?
Yeah.
The book, 600 pages in of this massive book, and not a single page is dull. Not a single page. There's not a single moment where I've been like trying to get through it.
Oh, damn.
Never happened once. This book is much more readable than you'd think.
Interesting.
Okay.
So,
I'm hyped.
Yeah. So real quick, Mark, Matt, what are your goal for like books read during the month, like during this year, like 2020, 2021? How many books do you want to read this year?
I'll let you go, Matt.
Oh, I don't know. Like, I don't really have like a number. Like, numbers don't really bother me, but I have a James Clavell book that I want to read, The Writer of Shogun, and this book is like 1,500 pages long.
What about Shogun?
I could read. I'm kind of tempted to reread Shogun, to be totally honest. It's like one of my favorite books.
Oh damn.
But I mean Tyler has it, so I can't reread it.
You bastard.
But I have another book by him called Noble House, which takes place in Hong Kong, and like from what I've seen, like they just say like the Shogun, he just expertly he just knows these cultures so well, and it just feels so natural. Because James Clavell was a World War II soldier who spent time in a Japanese prison camp. And that's what his book King Rat is about, which is another great book by him. It's much shorter. If you want to get to James Clavell, I recommend that book because it's like 300 pages. So like he's so good with that. So I want to read that at some point. I'm gonna read more Hemingway. I'm gonna read more. I want to read War and Peace at some point, and I want to get into more history again. I didn't really have anything specifically in mind, but like I do like I like read the Leonardo. I mean, yeah, the Leonardo da Vinci book, but I want to read more like I don't really know. I do want to get more to Russian history. Like I've been like looking into like Ivan the Terrible stuff for some reason. I don't know. He just seems like really interesting to me. And like there's like this Black Prince of Venice book that I kind of want to read, just like history in general. And yeah, that's basically it for me.
Cool.
For my goals, I don't like saying like I'm gonna read 30 books or like 20 books, or I don't like putting a number on it, because one thing I learned this year is quality beats quantity. I think when you like try to make yourself like, read X amount of books, you run the risk of not internalizing any of it. Like one of the subreddits that I used to be part of was 52 book, which is like reading it's a book a week sort of thing.
I have friends who try to do that, and it really confuses me as to why you want.
It's something that's it's doable, but it's like, I had this, like, one of the books I read this year that I really enjoyed was *Sapiens: A Brief History of Humankind* by Yuval Noah Harari. I think Tyler has the second book.
Yeah.
It's
Homo
somewhere in
Deus.
there. It's somewhere in
Yeah,
here.
yeah. I read the book and I was like, wow, this is very profound, and I really enjoyed it. And then like 3 months later, I was like, can I recall a single point that the book made? And for the most part, no, I didn't really remember much of it.
Is that what?
I read it like in 3 or 4 days, and it's like 400, 500 pages. I was just like, just trying to like just read it. I wasn't trying to like actually like read like 5 pages and then like take a step back and think about it. It was just like trying to just get through it. So I think that's a bad idea to like, it's good to have goals. Obviously, like I'd like to read at least like 5 books. I think that's realistic, but like, I'm going to read like 60 books. There's people out there that read like 120 books a year. I mean, it's crazy. So my goal is probably I'm gonna finish War and Peace, and I'm gonna read a lot of literature this year. I want to like touch different eras. Like I want to get into James Joyce really badly.
I want to do Ulysses. I'm like really considering doing that book.
I own Ulysses.
Oh God, it's falling! Oh no, everything's falling.
Tyler's about to pull it out.
Maybe I'll borrow from Tyler.
No, I'm never gonna get it back.
Tyler, what do you know about Ulysses?
All I know is James Joyce is he kind of takes that like Hemingway model where it's like the tip of the iceberg kind of stuff, where there's so much like historical context built into it that it's almost overwhelming. But I mean, he's an incredible writer. So,
like one of the things about Ulysses.
So I know nothing about the book.
Oh yeah, well, in Ulysses, like one chapter is structured like a play, one chapter is structured like a romance novel. One chapter is like in the prose of like the medieval era. Like it's it's like a history of literature practically through story. Yeah, like that. Like and then there's a chapter where he abandons all punctuation. It's like just straight like one sentence.
Good God.
That was like one of the things about modernity, stream of consciousness or something.
Oh my God, I found it.
Yeah, there you go.
Jesus.
So there's people out there that say like, I can't get past like the first 10 pages, and then it's either that and they give it like half a star, or they'll do like, some of you like, this is the greatest book ever written. It's like, and it's only those two. No one's like, I kind of liked it.
You want to read any more Scott Fitzgerald this year?
Oh yes, absolutely. I want to read the Great Gatsby again, which just entered the public domain.
We should
guys, we can make a film. Let's make a film.
Let's make a Great Gatsby fan film.
Great Gatsby versus Godzilla.
So Matt
Godzilla's
will be Great Gatsby. I'll be what's the girl's name?
Daisy.
I'll be Daisy, and then Tyler will be the pool that Gatsby falls in.
Yeah, I'm a star. Hell yeah.
We were talking. Mark and I were playing PlayStation, and we were talking about how we didn't understand Great Gatsby when we first read it, and I was saying like I didn't realize that Great Gatsby got shot and killed at the end of the book when I read it in high school.
Oh,
what happened to Gatsby?
I think he's such a weird guy. Yeah.
I mean, definitely this year I really appreciate it. I read 3 F. Scott Fitzgerald works, and 2020 I read 3 F. Scott Fitzgerald works, and definitely like I have way more appreciation for his writing style now than I did when I was rushing through it the night before in sophomore year of high
You're
school.
like, oh god, he's gonna call on me. No,
Um,
I think we should legitimately take a day trip to the Harvard bookstore because Mark would probably spend like $300 at the bookstore.
Oh, I absolutely would. I
There's
can't buy any more books. I
there
mean,
there
living
are
on a scrap.
multiple Werner Herzog
Werner.
biographies and
And
like interview biographies, like to the point like it's incredible.
I
But yeah,
am making a documentary about a guy who likes to
Like-
be with bears.
it's amazing. All right, real quick, Matt, what did you watch this week?
Wait, what do you want to read this year, Tyler?
I'm
What do
kind
you
of
want to buy this year? I should ask.
So I want to take. I would really love to finish the Expanse series. I have to read. I've read 4 books of it. I think that'd be cool. There's I got like 4 more, but I'm kind of with Mark. Like I'd like to read just like 10 quality, like seriously quality books and just kind of explore that. And I probably have like 30
Luckily, you
quality
got one
books.
on your Microsoft Word email.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, but I think that's a good goal. But Matt, what did you watch this week?
I was slacking. I've had other things to do. But I watched Ford versus Ferrari. And it was okay. It was way too long though. It was 2.5 hours long. I probably would have really liked it if it was 2 hours, but no reason for it to be as long as it was.
Yeah.
I've been watching the show on HBO Max. I think Tyler, since you have HBO Max now, you should definitely check out. It's called Nathan For You.
I've heard of it. Is it good?
It is so funny. I can't even comprehend. You should just watch an episode like right after this. Just watch.
Okay.
It's like it has that Borat formula where it's like he's playing a character, but everyone else is a real life person. But like he's basically does like one of those like those reality shows where it's like, oh, I come in, I help fix this business, blah blah blah. Like he's doing the same thing, but he comes up with terrible ideas and it's basically just saying like, oh, because these people think that I'm like because they're on TV and whatever, like they're just gonna go with these ideas anyways, and it's so funny. Like there's this one thing where there's like the struggling Hollywood store in Los Angeles, so they basically make a fake movie set and convince people that they're filming a movie here and that they're playing customers, so they go in and buy things at the store and then spend real money on it.
Oh my god!
and then go back and they're like, well, I didn't really want this, but but he hired a fake Johnny Depp impersonator, but pretend like he's the real Johnny Depp, and they're like, hey, do you want to meet Johnny Depp? So he signs all the merch that they buy is they don't want to sell anyone to sign by Johnny Depp, and it's like literally the craziest things that you could possibly imagine. But it's
This
like
is amazing.
it's like
That's
you have to watch it, like
hilarious.
you have to watch it, and it's like the real life reactions to these people is so funny. I'm hyping the show up a lot, but it completely lives up to the hype that I'm giving it
I'm
because
gonna have to check this out.
you get the real world cringe, and this guy Nathan Fielder, he plays things so straight. It's incredible. It's honestly like you guys would probably love the show. And it's like each episode's like 20 minutes long. It just breezes by. It's great.
Damn, I'm gonna have to check it out then. I'm very fascinated by it.
And speaking of Russian literature, I read this in a week. It's
Oh, really?
Roadside Picnic. Yeah, it's like 120 pages. That's why I'm a slow reader, but I read this super fast. It's good. I wanted more.
Okay, yeah. I knew you were gonna say that. Yeah.
So my biggest complaint is that there's 3 chapters, but each chapter is like 55 pages, and there's no breaks. So you're basically like you don't really get I don't even want like chapter breaks. I'm just meaning like when there's like a blank space between pages like this much. You say, oh, this is the end of like a scene or whatever. Like there's none of that. It's literally just dialogue, text for 55 pages. Then you get a break.
What's the book about, by the way? What's
It's soccer. It's the
Oh,
book
it's
that's
about.
soccer.
Have you seen? Are you gonna watch? Soccer
I'm gonna
now?
watch soccer now.
Okay.
But
I think it's on Criterion.
yeah, it's on Canopy as well. For
No,
the
go to Criterion.
lesser
Go to
Criterion.
Go to Criterion. You have my account information. I give you permission.
But like the stuff here is really good. Like there's a lot of just like it's basically like these like it's the places called zones, and like Mark knows this already. You guys have both seen the movie, right?
I haven't seen it. No, wait. Yes, I have. I have seen.
Clearly
some.
had a very profound effect on you.
The movie and the book are totally different.
Okay, so I'll just talk a little bit, but like it's basically like there are these stalkers, and they basically there are these zones where aliens were at one point, and these stalkers go illegally into these zones to take alien artifacts. That's basically like the plot, and like you follow a stalker. And like I said, like my biggest complaint is that I wanted more, which is kind of a weird complaint because like it shows that I really liked it,
Yeah.
but I just wanted more character time, more of like the plot. The book just goes really quickly, and I wasn't totally like into it by the end because I didn't really feel like the length was worth like the struggle, you know. Whereas if the book was like 300 pages, it would have felt more, you know, fitting. But I liked it. You know, I'd recommend that, Mark, since you own the book. Like, I think you'd like it if you read it because the writing style is really good, in my opinion. It's a little rough at first, but as you get into it, like the descriptions of the zone are really great, in my opinion.
Yeah, I actually James read it.
Yeah.
He really enjoyed it. I tried reading it back in April, and I had just finished Don Quixote, and then I was like, I was gonna read that next, and I picked it up, and I read the first like 20 to 25, 30 pages, and I was like, I don't know, I was really not impressed with the writing style.
Mm.
I think maybe it was just because I was coming off the high of like one of the greatest books of all time, and also like I was reading and I was like, I hope this is a good translation or something. But I really was, from what I remember, I was not really impressed with the prose of the first 25, 30 pages. But if you say it gets better, then I need to revisit it. But from what I know of the book and the movie are totally different beasts.
Okay. I'm probably going to watch the movie this week.
Yeah,
so
it's a long one. 2 hours and 47 minutes. No, 2 hours and 41 minutes.
Have fun, Matt.
I'll probably watch it in 2 parts.
Matt, wake up. Don't do it at night. Don't do it when you're tired. Okay?
Okay.
This is a movie that demands a lot of you.
Yeah.
It demands a lot of you.
It's like,
I don't want to watch this movie anymore.
Oh, no.
You will know what I mean when you'll know in the first 10, 15 minutes what exactly that I mean.
How long did the runtime until you got naked, Mark?
It was real quick. It was
real
probably
quick.
about
There.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was like one of those like landmark films for me where like I watched it and I was like, you can do movies like this? That was basically like how I reacted to The Stalker, which I absolutely love, and it's on my top 10 favorite movies.
Interesting. All right.
Oh wait,
Well-
Matt, I wanted to address something real quick. You went on Thrift Books, right? What'd you get?
I didn't get anything yet.
Oh,
But
coward.
I'm gonna. I have so many books. I'm.
No, you don't have so many books, Matt.
You don't have so many books. What are you talking about?
Yeah, come on.
I'm trying to rage against the dying of the light here. When the dying of the light is Mark and Tyler. I'm probably this week. Speaking of things I want to read. I'm gonna get the Hemingway book that you talked about.
Sun Also Rises.
Yeah, Sun Also Rises. I'm also gonna get. I really want to get into poetry some more. So I'm gonna. There's like a Tennyson book that's like $6, and it's like a huge collection, because one of my favorite screenwriters, John Logan, quotes Tennyson all the time. Like, he wrote Skyfall, Penny Dreadful, Gladiator. And so I kind of want to read some of that stuff as well. But so those are 2 books I'm going to get, like, probably this week. Because I want to
John Logan wrote Alien Covenant.
Yeah, he wrote part of Alien Covenant.
Yeah.
Oh, part of
it.
Yeah, he's not directly did it. Yeah, good to know.
I think the studios basically wrote Alien Covenant.
Matt's like, we all make mistakes.
Yeah, we're not perfect. Wow, I got really self-conscious there. I really.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, John Logan.
You insolent coward. All right, Tyler, get into us.
All right, I'll do it quick. I watched Titanic, which is probably the longest movie I've ever watched in my entire life. It's 3 hours and 14 minutes long. To the point, it's basically 2 movies. It's like a very generic, albeit half decent, romantic like love story. Typical kind of like one guy's poor, one guy's rich. She's in a relationship she's not happy with. And then it becomes like full-fledged fucking horror movie, like at the turn of a hat. And I was like at the edge of my seat, like with how impactful the last like hour and a half was.
You seen it before?
I've seen it once before, but I watched it on like the FX or like TNT, where it's
so
like
we're there for all day watching it between the commercials.
I looked up how long it was. It's 4.5 hours on like a TNT thing.
Yeah.
So I sat through it all. I sat through all the commercials. But when they're jumping off, when like the Titanic goes up and someone like jumps off and hits, and then it cuts, it's like, make sure you buy Applebee's.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? It loses a lot of its impact. But when you're like stuck in it, and you're in 2 hours and 45 minutes, and people are drowning and freezing to death, and you're just like emotionally invested, it's really fucking impactful. I can't. It's probably one of the scarier movies I've seen. Like legitimately, like the boat starts sinking and people are panicking, and it's just like the worst of people. And then there's like a few shots of just everyone frozen in the water, and you're like, fuck. And it just like hits you like a gut punch. And I'm gonna do a video on the 1998 Best Picture nominees, and I'm gonna talk about it because it won that year. And I think it's just a very fascinating movie to dissect because the first hour 45 are just kind of generic, like they're just whatever. But the last hour and a half are so great.
When you said about like a super traumatic moment cut off by by an ad,
Yeah,
I immediately thought of the series finale of BoJack Horseman, Mr.
Yeah.
Blue, and
Yeah.
then it's like, do you want to watch Umbrella Academy?
yeah, it's like Mr. Blue, and you're like, it's like what the fuck?
Netflix, just give your audience like a minute to like think about what they just watched. Don't immediately recommend them another stupid television. I don't want to watch The Flash after I watch BoJack Horseman.
When Mr. Blue's playing and you've just spent 6 seasons with a horse and you're crying, I don't want to see
Yeah.
coming next week. Fuck you. So I watched that. I watched Serpico, Lumet's other movie with Al Pacino. Matt, why'd you like shocked?
I know. I was just thinking of the BoJack. I was in my own little world.
This is like an interesting movie because it's like extremely solid. It's like such like a solid watch, but I kind of found it a little like simple and a little kind of like dull for a large portion of it. And I understand you're faced with the limitations because it's based off a real life guy. But it's like the surface level exploration of police corruption. And while Pacino's like incredible in this movie, I just like it's kind of like Roadside Picnic where I wanted more. It just feels very like safe. Maybe Mark, you just look confused.
No, what do you mean? What do you mean by Roadside Picnic? You haven't even read it.
But I'm talking about what Matt said when he
It's
said,
like he
yeah.
came with my feelings
Yeah,
towards Roadside Picnic.
I can't be
and
original.
related it.
Oh.
So basically, it was just like it's a really like Lumet is crushing it with this camera directing. Has a great score, great performances. It just wanted a little bit more from the
Is
narrative.
the movie like 3 hours long?
No, it's like 2 hours 10. It's not long at all.
I thought. Yeah. Okay.
And then I watched Ad Astra, because I was really interested with this movie, and it's kind of like really fucking great. Like,
Yeah, it is.
It's like surprisingly, like there's a few sequences. Spoiler alert! Spoiler, bad if you don't want to be spoiled. You can take your headphones off. Spoiler alert! When Brad Pitt and Tommy Lee Jones are fighting underneath Neptune at the end, and the score is swelling. It's like I was sitting there like in awe. I was like, "What the fuck?" Matt, you can put your headphones back on. It's so great. Matt, you can...
No.
Yeah.
Remember when the baboon comes in?
It's like a horror setting. You're just like, what's moving? And it's a fucking baboon. You're like run! Like it's a baboon. No, Ad Astra like has legitimate like I love the setting of like space, but like conflict that
Matt,
with like fear. You can come back in. You can come back in. Matt,
come back in.
Matt, you can come back. You can come back. I love the setting of like space, but basically like tackling masculinity and emotion and fear. And I thought like Brad Pitt as like a repressed character. People found him really boring. I was looking at reviews of him, but I think that is perfect. And that opening sequence. He's an astronaut. And there's like nothing better than like a robotic thing. Like, are you okay? Like asking like, is the only person to ask him if he's okay. The opening sequence is like breathtaking when he like falls off and he's just like, you're like, fuck. You're like, it's just like, it's incredible visuals and a really great story. And I want to rewatch it. Is basically kind of where I'm at with the movie.
It's like Blade Runner 2049 where it's like cells, interlinked.
Yep. And you're just like, fuck. But
there's
there's
wait, one aspect of the movie. I remember when I left the movie. I last time I saw it was September 2019 or whenever it came out.
Yeah.
But I remember like leaving the theater and being like, I felt so calm.
Yeah. You just feel good. You just feel like
it's a very like meditative film.
Yeah. We can ignore all the science stuff when he's like, Matt, just real quick, when he's like launching through an asteroid belt with like a great.
Yeah, made no sense.
It's just like you'd hit a rock and go backwards. All right, you're good. You can come back. But yeah, Ad Astra is great. It's on Matt, I would recommend this movie. I think you'd really dig it.
Well, I love sci-fi, so I mean, I'm gonna check it out.
It's like it's on HBO Max. It's great. I think it's worth it, and it's not super long either. I think it's what? It's a little over 2 hours. It's like 2 hours on the nose. I'm gonna skip one movie real quick. I'm gonna get right to Blowout.
De Palma fanboy.
The Palma fan. This movie.
Or like The peasant.
So I watched. Fuck you. I've seen like Dress to Kill and I've seen Mission Impossible and I like De Palma. This movie like blew me away. Like it's like
Did
Mark.
it blow you out?
Boo, boo.
Can we-
Mark, it's
the
a
circle?
Criterion release. It has a Criterion Blu-ray. You would love this movie. It's equally about the. It's like equally about the process of movie making as it is the story. John Travolta's great, but it's like a wonderful exploration of, like corruption and the silencing of like people in media, and it has one of the more like engaging final sequences I've seen in a long time. I was like in awe, just like sitting there just watching this. And De Palma clearly loves movies. He clearly loves the process of making movies, and his style is so impactful here. I think it's just wonderful. I would really, really recommend you guys check this one out. I think you guys would both love it. But I was like, I'm going to check out some De Palma movies, and I watched this. I'm like, I love De Palma. So that's where I'm at now. And then I watched Dodgeball, a true underdog story. Mark, do you like
Wait
Dodgeball?
for it, folks.
Do you like Dodgeball?
I saw it so long ago, but I remember laughing.
It's the dumbest, least funny movie I've seen in a long time.
Oh.
It's just not. All the jokes are just like, he got punched in the nuts. Or look, she's ugly in a
what are you
unibrow.
expecting? It's not just about those. It's about like the crazy characters and like the crazy.
They're not like
plot.
funny to me. So I should clarify. I don't.
No one makes me bleed my own blood.
You said it funnier than the guy in the movie. Listen, I don't find comedies like this that funny. Like to the point, like when they come out in like all like the gimp costumes.
That's so funny.
That was I laughed a little
bit.
bit in that. But like we watched this as like a family, and my 9-year-old brother was watching it. And
Well, like I watched it when I was 9, and like I didn't really understand. Like he doesn't understand what's going on.
no, he doesn't understand what's going on. But like half the jokes are like, "Look, a fat girl fell on Justin Long." It's like that's
funny,
the joke.
though.
It's not that funny. I didn't laugh. I was like, okay, I get it. And she sits up, and it's like the suction, like, and you're like, what the fuck is this? But Vince Vaughn, like, is just like, there's this joke at the end where it doesn't make any sense. Where like the main love interest is like, oh, I'm bisexual, and she just makes out with like both of the people. You're like, this hasn't been set up. You're like, this doesn't make any sense. It's
You like the ending when they're having like the standoff draw, and then like Ben Stiller misses, and he has his head sticking out for no reason. So Vince Vaughn can hit him right in the face of the
He's just like, because Vince Vaughn can't
and he
probably
goes
throw.
flying backwards.
Listen.
What about the training sequence with the guy in the wheelchair?
I've done the quote. It's like, well,
You can dodge a wrench, you can dodge a ball.
Yeah, I know what it is. It's just like, it's whatever. Who is the fucking guy? What has he been in where he sees his like mail order bride cheating on him and he goes like crazy and he gets mad? What has he been in? The guy with glasses.
What?
He's been in something. He's been in a movie that I know.
Like the nerdy guy?
Yeah.
He was
Stephen
in
Root. What's Stephen Root
Mama's
in?
Boy. Like
Stephen Root is in like Get Out. He's in No Country for Old. He's the guy in Get Out. That's what I know him from. Okay.
What?
He's the blind guy in Get Out.
Stephen Root.
Yeah. He's the guy who's like, get angry.
That guy.
Yeah, I can't remember what he's from, but
He's in
like,
Barry too.
He is in Barry. That's where I know him from. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was losing
Are
my
you
mind.
talking about like the skinny nerdy guy who's like in love with the Russian lady?
No, that's the joke though. It's just they just like, you have a unibrow and a mole.
Because he's weak, but she's strong. That's the
not
joke.
funny. I did laugh when they all walk out with the Gim costume though, and the guy decides like.
But like it's like that golden era of comedy, like with Anchorman, Starsky and Hutch.
Anchorman is so much funnier than this movie.
But like it's like that era where like before Hangover came out, where everything just became like, oh, like this isn't this crazy comedy? Like, oh, they're doing like the joke is that they're doing drugs or whatever.
So I
like
think
it's like that era where it's like wacky ideas put to film, and I kind of like I don't know, I just appreciate that stuff.
So I think Anchorman might have been the peak for that for me because Anchorman is such a funny movie. Anchorman is the best, but I think this one is just
ESPN
like
8, The Old Show. That's funny.
with
Because they're running out of ideas for ESPN.
When like Jason Bateman's in this movie, but it also resorted to like look at all these cameos like Chuck Norris, and then people go, it's Chuck Norris.
He
Like,
gives a thumbs up.
yeah, it's stupid. They just got cameos from people. I don't know. It's just dumb. It's just not. It just didn't laugh. I'd rather watch Anchorman. I want to rewatch Anchorman now. I'd rather rewatch that 1,000 times out of 1,000 times. Also, Vince Vaughn needs to do more Brawl and Cell Block 99 instead of Dodgeball.
And Drive Across Concrete.
He's already in Drive Across Concrete. He's like the best in Brawl.
Interior Detective Season 2.
We should do Brawl and Cell Block 99 one day. I want to see what Mark's reaction to that movie would be.
Have you seen
the movie.
Brawl and Cell Block?
You've seen
I've seen
Brawl
it.
and Cell Block 99?
I have.
Oh.
Oh, bitch.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's what I watched. I just watch movies. I don't have a social life anymore. But yeah. So that was our 12 Angry Men, what we've been watching section.
Like how these become like mini therapy sessions for Tyler.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Every
scene.
He
episode.
looks forward to it all week.
Yeah. So thank you guys for watching. Matt, what's our call to action we're doing next week?
Like, comment, subscribe, watch us on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, all that good stuff. Next week we are doing Tyler's recommendation. So we actually don't know what he's going to recommend.
So here's what we're gonna do. I want you guys. I've thought about a lot of different movies. So I've thought about I Saw the Devil, like Matt said, excellent South Korean movie. Mark would probably not like it because of how grotesque it is. I thought of doing Assassination of Jesse James by the coward Robert Ford because that's apparently a great movie. Yeah, we're gonna do Valerian. I'm making a decision. We're doing Valerian.
No!
We're doing it.
We can Discord chat while we watch it. It'll be fun.
We're gonna do Valerian. I think it's a fun movie to dissect. Mark, just watch another movie this week instead of one, and you'll be happy.
Can we just watch Chronicle? I think it's just
No, I've seen Chronicle too many times. Listen, Valerian is a stupid fun movie, and I actually am curious to see how it's held up because I think Matt and I were so shocked at how bad it was in theaters that the effect of
You want to see how it's held up because he loved it so much the first time.
It's 2 hours and 15 minutes.
17 minutes, you liar.
Oh, sorry. Shut up. We're gonna do Valerian. We're gonna figure that one out. But I think it'll be a fun movie. Listen, until you guys admit that Black Hat's a good movie, I'm just gonna make you guys watch bad movies. And then we're doing my director series, and my director series will be Michael Mann, and I'm contemplating starting with Thief or Heat and figuring.
I like how Mark was legitimately disgusted. He's not even playing for the camera. He's just
he's just legitimately gross. Are you actually gonna watch this movie, Mark? Are you gonna?
No, I'm gonna watch it because I'm committed to the film fraud's cause.
Listen, I think it'd be.
I'm not gonna be happy.
I think it'd be fun.
Literally Marvel time.
Listen, we're about to hit a nice wave of excellent movies. I think it's good to get a bad movie in there. I hate you so much.
Is Tyler saying something?
No, nothing of importance. Listen, we're about to hit the Michael Mann era of film frauds, and it's just going to be constant Hall of Fame movies. Now Matt looks disgusted. I'm losing everyone. Yeah, but Matt, real quick, thank you guys for the support on recent videos. Our last couple ones have done really great. Matt also has a new YouTube channel called Matt Talks Wrestling. I don't know how to spell it, and I'm not even gonna try. But if Matt sends me a link,
WRASSLIN.
You know what? I'm gonna. If you're into WWE wrestling, kind of all that stuff, I'm gonna put a link.
Well, I did New Japan Pro Wrestling video.
I'm sorry. But
that's completely different.
if you are into wrestling in any capacity, I'm gonna put the link to Matt's channel down below. We're gonna have some good videos coming out soon, some individual stuff, so we'll be able to gauge who's the most popular and who we can fire. I'm gonna be fired, so what's good. But yeah, you guys.
My perspective on film really changed when I watched Black Hat for the third time this year.
I've only seen it twice. How dare you?
And when the shot was mostly focused on the guy's earlobe, I was like, "This is filmmaking.
This is genius." But yeah, thank you guys for watching. This is the best episode we've ever done. And if you have any suggestions or anything, put it in the no, actually no, we're not gonna take your suggestions.
You have any roast for Tyler?
Yeah, any roast for Tyler?
I'm in the comments below.
I'm here. Look, my books are collapsing over, representative of my mental psyche. So when they all fall, so will I. So let's go. All right, thank you guys for watching, and I get the final.